Broadcasting live from the mountains of Montana, get ready for an hour of pure, unapologetic conservative talk radio. Liberals beware, because this is the Wise Conservative Show.
Hello and welcome to episode 115 of the Wise Conservative Show. I am your host, Connor Wise. And it seems like every week when I'm looking up stuff to talk about, of course there's always crazy things that Democrats have said. But as time goes on, it seems like they say crazier and crazier things. From governors to representatives to senators. I mean, they just continually say these crazy things. And that's coming up in just a little bit. But to start off with, I'm sure you've probably heard, Trump has just revoked ex-CIA Director John Brennan's security clearance today. Of course, he's tweeted about that in the past, and it received a bunch of mixed signals and mixed responses from critics, from the news, from just people on Twitter. So today, he finally announced the decision the White House did, and Sarah Sanders read a statement on behalf of President Trump during the press briefing today, saying that Brennan, quote, has a history that calls his credibility into question. The statement also claimed that Brennan had been leveraging the clearance to make wild outbursts and claims against the Trump administration within the media. Sanders continued to say, quote, the president has a constitutional responsibility to protect classified information and who has access to it. And that's what he's doing, is fulfilling that responsibility in this action. Now, Democrats have been going crazy over this, actually. We saw Brennan himself tweet out against this, trying to respond to it. He said, this action is part of a broader effort by Mr. Trump to suppress freedom of speech and punish critics. It should gravely worry all Americans, including intelligence professionals, about the cost of speaking out. My principles are worth far more than clearances. I will not relent. Now, it's just last month that the White House said that they were looking into the clearances from other former officials and Trump critics. Of course, that includes James Comey and Andrew McCabe and James Clapper. So there's a whole list of people that they're actually looking into and seeing whether they deserve to still have their security clearance. So there were actually more people, though, that responded to this on Twitter. And there was a whole bunch of representatives and senators from the Democratic Party that called out President Trump for this. But I'm just going to read you guys a couple more from Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi. Of course, big names and big leaders within the Democratic Party. Adam Schiff said, quote, in adding John Brennan to his enemies list, Trump demonstrates again how deeply insecure and vindictive he is. Two character flaws dangerous in any president. An enemies list is ugly, undemocratic, and un-American. I also believe this action to silence a critical is unlawful. Now, Nancy Pelosi said, quote, revoking the security clearance of an honorable patriot is a stunning abuse of power and a pathetic attempt to silence critics. This is yet another disturbing attempt by real Donald Trump, of course his Twitter handle, to distract and divert attention from his admin's hashtag culture of corruption, cronyism, and incompetence. So what you'll notice is the theme in all of this is Democrats are saying that this is unconstitutional, that this is unpresidential, that it's un-American, that it's silencing critics, that it's going against everything that the president ought to do when he's in office. But he's not even in the government anymore. He's not the CIA director anymore. And in fact, he's working for news agencies. There's no reason why John Brennan should still have security clearances, and that's going past all of the political issues that he's brought up throughout not only his time in office as the director, but also afterwards. Just the mere fact that he's not even in the government anymore, he's not a part of the CIA anymore, he has no reason to need security clearances. The only reason that he's used his security clearances since he's not been the director of the CIA, has been to get information to give to the press. Now, I know what some people think when they hear that. They're like, oh yeah, that just leads to a free press, to an informed people. But that's not necessarily true, because we don't know whether what he was saying was correct or not. And this is one of the big issues, because we know that John Brennan is an outspoken Trump critic. He's an outspoken Republican critic. And so we have no clue whether he was making up information and just feeding it to the press, and they're going to believe him because of that clearance. They're automatically going to believe him. So that makes it a dangerous area where he could just feed them lies and suddenly it's the truth. Furthermore, what if he feeds something that shouldn't be released to the public? It's top secret. Of course, Democrats are known for releasing top secret stuff to the public, with Hillary Clinton and with James Comey and Obama, all of these people that used their own emails when talking about top secret stuff. Democrats, leftists, liberals in our nation, for some reason, don't understand the concept of security clearances, the concept of top secret information. And so they're freaking out, saying that, oh, this is a terrible thing, that because Donald Trump got rid of the security clearance, it's proof that he's a dictator. Because he doesn't want someone who's not in the government to know top secret, government-only things. Call me crazy, but I think someone who's not involved in the CIA should not have the security clearance of the director of the CIA. That can only lead to dangerous things in the future. It can only lead to a slippery slope, essentially. But Democrats have a long history of defending slippery slope politics. But as I teased at the beginning a bit, Democrats have been saying some pretty crazy things. And starting off with Andrew Cuomo, of course, from New York, he really shocked a crowd at a recent rally. Of course, he's running for re-election. And really, it's the perfect line for Republicans to use if he does, as he was saying, as he's been rumoring, actually run in 2020 for president. It would make the perfect campaign ad for it. Andrew Cuomo said that America was never great, and I have the audio here for you guys, so you get to listen to the entire context, you get to listen to the entire quotation, so take a listen.
We're not going to make America great again. It was never that great. We have not reached greatness. We will reach greatness when every American is fully engaged. We will reach greatness when discrimination and stereotyping against women, 51% of our population, is gone.
America was never really that great. Not really a good thing to say when you're trying to get Americans to vote for you. And of course, this was him trying to attack the Donald Trump slogan, "Make America Great Again," or even "Keep America Great," which I believe he's using for 2020. But this really reveals the mentality behind the Democratic Party at this point in time. They continually say these things that they try and portray as mistakes, as, oh, I didn't mean to say this. And I mean, Cuomo's already walking this back. He's already saying that he loves America, that America's the greatest country on earth, and his spokesperson is going haywire on news channels trying to make up for this mistake. But Cuomo really just slipped and showed the Democrats' true feelings about America for a second. And it's been apparent ever since Donald Trump won the election. Democrats don't love America. They're not in politics for helping our nation. They're not in politics for helping Americans. That's why Hillary Clinton was so fond of calling half of America deplorable. It's why they want to change our nation to be like another nation, to be like these European socialist nations. because they don't love America. They don't think that America is great. And that's the difference between Democrats and Republicans. Besides for, the apparent and them wanting this big government and, of course, Republicans with conservative policies. But the main ideology is that Democrats don't love this nation. Democrats don't have nationalism. And in fact, when you have nationalism, Democrats view it as a bad thing. When you have this nationalism that most Republicans have, Democrats say that you're a Nazi and a fascist just because they also had nationalism. But without nationalism, we wouldn't exist as a country. Without nationalism, we wouldn't rise to the top of the power rankings in the world. Without nationalism, our nation wouldn't have thrived throughout these past centuries that we've existed. And without loving this nation, without our nation being this great, we want to have people every day rising up from the bottom, from nothing, and being able to create success, create wealth, to create their own better livelihoods. If you look throughout the rest of the world, there's no other nation in the world that does that as well as America. They might have these policies, these socialist policies that they claim to help the poor with. But at the end of the day, these socialist policies just legislate people into poorness instead of legislating the poor into wealthiness. In capitalism, in America, in the system that we have, not these socialist systems that Democrats want us to have, we allow the poor to rise up, to create their own livelihood. We give everyone an opportunity to succeed in life. And yeah, that makes America great. And we've seen a few policies in the past, especially in the past presidency, that have tried to undermine this. Regulations, taxes, all these burdens on the consumer, on the everyday American. And so, yeah, we do have to make America great again. And that's why Donald Trump got such a following, and it's why he continues to have such a following. He has a 50% approval rating, which is way higher than anyone would have ever expected. He has the highest percentage of black voters approving of him in decades. He has in the 30% of them. And you know what usually happens? Democrats say, oh yeah, we're the party of minorities. They usually say that they're the ones that help minorities, but minorities are realizing, everyone's realizing, that with free market policies, with better trade deals, with less regulations, the poor are being brought up into prosperity. We have the lowest unemployment rates in a very long time, lowest Hispanic unemployment rates, lowest black unemployment rates. Donald Trump's presidency has worked. And when you see Democrats attacking that, you know that they don't care for America, that they don't care for our citizens. You know that they're not interested in helping our nation. They're not interested in keeping America great. And so when Cuomo said this, he wasn't slipping, he wasn't mistaking what he was saying. He was really just saying what Democrats' real policy is. He was really just saying what Democrats continue to try to push into our nation every day. He was saying what the entire Democratic platform is. Going against America. Going against what we have always stood for. All right, I'm going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, more crazy things that Democrats have said. Don't go anywhere. This is the Wise Conservative Show.
Hey everybody, Connor Wise here with an exclusive clip from the Wise Conservative Show. Don't go anywhere, I'll be right back. But on certain universities, you have these zones which are free speech zones. You have to get permits just to hand out the constitutions to students.
you can't say what you want. If you say anything that's conservative, you're automatically deemed as a racist, as a bigot, and not fit to be at the university. Not fit to be in any leadership position. People all across America are waking up and realizing that fake news isn't helping our nation. People are realizing that they don't deliver the facts, nor do they deliver the truth. The fake news era is coming to an end, and that's exactly why Patriot News Radio was created. On Patriot News Radio, you have a wide selection of conservative talk hosts, including myself with the Wise Conservative Show. Patriot News Radio streams 24/7 on TuneIn Radio, so you can just go to the app or to the website and stream it. Also, if you have a Google Home device, all you have to do is say, "Hey Google, play Patriot News Radio," and there you have it, Patriot News Radio right in your own home. Patriot News Radio delivers you the facts and the truth 24/7. Patriot News Radio, where America comes to talk.
Ever wanted to learn the history of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in less than 10 minutes? Are you looking for the truth about the so-called gender wage gap? Well, my friends, I'll let you in on a little secret. Prager University is a source that I use all the time when preparing for my show, the Jason Veely Program. Dennis Prager and his team have put together a remarkable organization that seeks to explain and spread Americanism through the power of the internet. Their short yet extremely informative videos reach more than 100 million people per year, and they want to reach you as well. Go on YouTube and type in Prager University, or go to prageru.com for all of their latest content. That's Prager, the letter U.com. prageru.com.
How are you feeling today? If you're not feeling great, then it could be what you're eating. The problem is that trace elements are missing in food products today. Trace elements are the minerals that provide long-lasting nutritional value in the foods we eat. Tarsul is a key mix of two minerals that can make you feel and look better. Tarsul's ingredients, sulfur and cream of tartar, have been prescribed by physicians for hundreds of years. Go to tarsul.com now to find out more. That's TARSUL.com to get well now.
Calling all young conservatives. Have you ever wanted to write for an online publication? What about host your own conservative radio program? Now you can, thanks to youthrevolt.org. Youth Revolt is a conservative media network for young people, the goal of which is to educate our fellow Americans, and also to expose the left-wing indoctrination that goes on in classrooms across the country. Become part of a team that is dedicated to taking the country back, one radio program or opinion column at a time. If you're interested, go to youthrevolt.org and click on Join Us on the top of the page. Fill out our brief questionnaire, and one of our representatives will be in touch with you in no time at all. The time to reclaim our future is now. Be a part of something that's bigger than yourself, and join the movement today. Youth Revolt. Speak without fear.
A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. There are people in this nation that would have you give up your rights, that would have you turn in your guns. We have these people who are in office. We have these people who are marching in our streets that are walking out of their schools. People who think that your right is not important. On the Wise Conservative Show, we know that your rights matter, and we will tell you the truth about your liberties. We will tell you the truth about all the issues happening and the facts around all of these debates. For your daily dose of conservatism, for your daily dose of the facts and the truth. Tune into the Wise Conservative Show every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, only on Youth Revolt. Welcome back to the Wise Conservative Show. I am your host, Connor Wise, and as promised, I have clips for you guys, a couple more clips of Democrats that really are just saying crazy things, and it's nothing out of the ordinary for Democrats of today. Now, it's nothing like Cuomo saying that America wasn't ever great, but it is some pretty crazy things that they think wins them elections, that they think wins them the people's vote. And it's things that they think the majority of Americans are in support of, when it really just comes across as extreme and as crazy, and that most Americans really just don't agree with this. Now, this first clip I have for you guys in this segment, Representative Cohen, a Democrat, he was talking about a Republican representative, Blackburn, and really was trying to talk about how Blackburn will do anything for President Trump and will basically do anything that Trump asks her to do. Take a listen to the clip, though. It gets pretty crazy.
The big orange president, he's going to come down here and he's going to endorse Marsha Blackburn. Because Marsha Blackburn, if he says, jump off the Harahan Bridge, she'll jump off the Harahan Bridge. I wish he'd say that.
So basically, he wishes that his opponent would jump off a bridge. Now, Democrats have said some weird things, and they've said some crazy things, but I think wishing the death upon your opponent is never a good thing in politics. And it's never a good thing in anything in life. But Democrats have taken their extremism to a new level. They've taken their extremism to the point where, wishing someone to die is not out of the norm for them. I've seen many people, whether it's people from the news or even just random people on Twitter or on Facebook, on Instagram, whatever social media, wishing the death of our president, wishing the death of his supporters. It's gotten out of hand. Democrats in today's society really thrive. They think that they will thrive upon wishing these kind of things on their opponents, and they really think that the majority of Americans also think the same thing, when that's just not true. And that's why President Trump has such a high approval rating as he does, because Democrats have gone so far left that the majority of Americans can never relate to them. Generally, the first midterm after an election of changing parties, generally it's an easy win for the opposing party. So in this case, it should be an easy win for Democrats. They should be able just to nominate some pretty moderate people and pretty much win the election. But they've gone so extreme, they've gone so far left, that now they're nominating people like Ocasio-Cortez and people that are so far left that independents can't relate to them, that common everyday workers can't relate to them, that the majority of even Democrats can't relate to them. So they're taking, and they did the same thing in the 2016 presidential election. They're taking what should have been an easy win and they're squandering it. And I'm not complaining about that. Republicans have a great opportunity to reverse that blue wave and make it a red wave. And they're taking every opportunity to do so, and they're jumping on every single statement that Democrats make that is super extreme, which is 2 or 3 statements every week. Democrats just cannot seem to wrap their heads around the fact that a lot of Americans do support our president, and as time goes on, more and more even Democrats and independents also support Donald Trump as president. So their extreme tactics of wishing ill harm on their opponents, saying that America was never great, it's never going to work. But as promised, I do have one more clip for you guys. And this one is Maxine Waters. Today is actually her birthday. And she said on the news a little wish for her birthday. Take a listen.
My biggest birthday wish would be that we're able to get a leader of this country who represents us, who has the respect of all of our allies. I would wish that we could remove him from office.
Now, of course, him was referring to Donald Trump. On this show, I love when Maxine Waters is in the headlines, because it's all the time, and it's crazy because Maxine Waters is trying to make herself the face and the voice of the Democratic Party. And I encourage her to continue, because she continually says such out-of-touch comments that she'll never win the Democrats any support. Whether it's wishing that people go out and assault Republicans, or whether it's just saying that Trump should be impeached, she does it constantly and she never offers any true reasons as to why he should be impeached. I think the closest thing she's gotten is saying that he fired Comey while he was under investigation. So that's the biggest reason she has, but that's not impeachment level. Maxine Waters is so out of touch with reality, so out of touch with even the people that she represents. She says crazy things all the time. And it's another statement, another portrayal of the direction and the mindset of the current Democratic Party. Maxine Waters, for the very long time that she's been in office, has always said crazy things. She's always been someone that thinks that she's right and that if anyone disagrees, then they're automatically in the wrong and their opinion shouldn't matter. She's always been one of those. But ever since the election of Donald Trump, she's escalated her comments, she's escalated her extremism and her activism to be solely anti-Trump, to be solely anti-Republican, anti-conservatism, and pretty much anti-American. And so it's another portrayal of the current Democratic Party. They don't love America. They don't want to help out Americans, as I've said time after time, and as they continue to prove. Democrats don't want to help Americans. Democrats don't love this nation. And it's apparent with people like Cuomo. It's apparent with people like Maxine Waters, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer. These people that have no idea what Americans want. These people that think that people want America to be like the rest of the world. But we don't. We want to be like America, the greatest country on earth. We want to continue to thrive as our own nation. Something that Democrats can't seem to wrap their minds around. And that's why you have groups like Black Lives Matters, like Antifa, popping up and being these very influential groups within the Democratic Party and within the liberal news media. And actually talking about that, we saw the media hyping up, which is extremely weird. The media has been hyping up this Unite the Right rally that was happening, that of course was basically a sequel to the Charlottesville rally last year. They were saying that there were going to be hundreds upon hundreds of white nationalists, of KKK members at this rally, and that we as Americans must do everything to rise up and stop it. So of course Antifa and Black Lives Matters, they became active, and they decided that they were going to show up at this rally as well. And pretty much Antifa outnumbered, well, they had about 300, 400 people there, and the actual ralliers had 30, 40 people there. So it was already quite different in the numbers, and the protests got very extreme, and there were two parts of protests that Antifa did. They started off the day before the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, and it was actually the anniversary of the Charlottesville riots and protests last year. And so Antifa was there. Antifa really got pretty rowdy, and this year they had a new message. It wasn't just against the white nationalists, where they caused some extreme violence. This year they were also against the police, saying that the police are also Nazis, and that the police are fascists, and that every single police officer is racist. And I actually have a clip of that chant for you guys. It might be a little hard to hear, but take a listen.
All cops are racist! You better face it! 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 All cops are racist!
So basically, they were chanting, and this is just one small portion of what happened in Charlottesville. They were chanting, "All cops are racist, you better face it." They've switched to very much vulgar things about cops later in the day that I won't repeat on the air here because they're very vulgar remarks. And they also attacked people from the press. They attacked reporters, journalists. They cut audio cords. They pushed cameras out of the way. They were very violent, even when they had no counter-protesters there. So Antifa, right off the bat, and this is something that conservatives have said from day one of Antifa being active, they're a terrorist group. They inflict violence wherever they go, whether it's Berkeley, Charlottesville, Washington, D.C., New York, you name it. They always inflict violence and riot. When they moved on from Charlottesville up to D.C., where the Unite the Right rally was, and even though there were only about 30 people at the rally, hundreds of the counter-protesters stayed and continued to throw different objects at police, at the protesters. It was very violent, actually. They launched fireworks at police officers, threw eggs at police officers and the protesters, and water bottles as well. And even the Secret Service was there trying to protect, because obviously Washington, D.C., and they continued to throw launch fireworks, throw eggs and water bottles at also the Secret Service. And when the protesters, the alt-right protesters, tried to leave because they didn't want more violence to happen like last year, they tried to leave, and Antifa members tried to block their way, and police had to escort these protesters out through all of these crowds, trying to get them out of D.C., out of this protest area. And Antifa, of course, just continued their antics, continued their violence the entire time. Now on the news, if you turn on CNN, MSNBC, you're going to be hearing them defending all of these Antifa members, saying that these black masked protesters, counter-protesters, were doing the work of democracy. That these counter-protesters who hide their identities because they know they're committing crimes, that these counter-protesters are just using their constitutional rights. But your right to protest does end with violence. And everywhere they go, it's violence. This is the same issue that we've seen with Black Lives Matter. Everywhere they go, everywhere BLM is, there's violence. And that's not a protest anymore. That's a riot. But the left continues to defend them. Democratic senators, representatives, governors, you name it, are defending Antifa. The media is defending Antifa, saying that they're warriors for our democracy. And they continue to push the narrative that Donald Trump only denounced Antifa and didn't ever denounce the white nationalists last year, and they're continually bringing it up even this year, even though we all know that President Trump condemned both Antifa and the white nationalists, saying that their actions were not necessary and were not in the public's benefit. But the news media continues to support Antifa. The news media continues to help Antifa and their agenda, which is pretty much just destroy conservatives and destroy police officers and any figure of authority. I know you've heard this quote because it's one of the most famous quotes from Ronald Reagan. And they said that fascism will come to America in the form of liberalism. And folks, we're looking at that as we watch Antifa, which is rather ironic. It's hypocritical, their name, because they use fascist methods to enforce their quote-unquote anti-fascist or Antifa methods. They think that they're protesting fascism when in fact anyone who has a different opinion they're trying to silence. That's fascism. Antifa in itself is the definition of fascism. Their agenda is the definition of fascism. And we see Democrats and the media defending them. It's crazy times when fascists, in the name of anti-fascism, are being defended by representatives, by senators, by elected officials, and by the news. And we talked about this last week. The news still is trying to say that they're not the enemy of the people, that they're not feeding us lies and fake news and biases, but then they go and defend groups such as BLM or Antifa. They really can't seem to wrap their heads around the fact that Antifa is violent, that Antifa has continually injured and even killed people in their quote-unquote protests, even though they're always just riots. Antifa is not helping us, BLM is not helping us, Democrats are not helping us, and the media is not helping us. Alright, I'm going to take another quick commercial break. When we come back, it'll be the last segment, so don't go anywhere. This is the Wise Conservative Show.
Hey everybody, Connor Wise here with an exclusive clip from the Wise Conservative Show. Don't go anywhere, I'll be right back. And that's how a government should be run, folks. You can't legislate based on emotion, based on morality. You have to legislate based on the truth and the facts. It's something that Democrats seem to have struggled with, and something that they continue to struggle with when it comes to the immigration debate.
Do you need money to grow your small business? We are the Business Loan Consultants, and we can help you get money for your business. We have helped many businesses, including fitness studios, general contractors, hair salons, medical practices, automotive shops, and many, many more. We can help get loans ranging from $10,000 up to $1 million. If you own a restaurant and need money for renovations, money to buy new equipment, or simply need working capital, we can help. If you have been in business for at least 1 year and have a monthly revenue of at least $10,000, call us today at 800-460-8679. Banks can take months to approve your loan. You can't afford to wait. We can help you get approved for a loan in 24 hours. If you need money for your business, don't wait. Call us now at 800-460-8679. Get the money you need today.
People all across America are waking up and realizing that fake news isn't helping our nation. People are realizing that they don't deliver the facts, nor do they deliver the truth. The fake news era is coming to an end, and that's exactly why Patriot News Radio was created. On Patriot News Radio, you have a wide selection of conservative talk hosts, including myself, with the Wise Conservative Show. Patriot News Radio streams 24/7 on TuneIn Radio, so you can just go to the app or to the website and stream it. Also, if you have a Google Home device, all you have to do is say, "Hey Google, play Patriot News Radio," and there you have it, Patriot News Radio, right in your own home. Patriot News Radio delivers you the facts and the truth 24/7. Patriot News Radio, where America comes to talk.
Ever wanted to learn the history of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in less than 10 minutes? Are you looking for the truth about the so-called gender wage gap? Well, my friends, I'll let you in on a little secret. Prager University is a source that I use all the time when preparing for my show, the Jason Veely Program. Dennis Prager and his team have put together a remarkable organization that seeks to explain and spread Americanism through the power of the internet. Their short yet extremely informative videos reach more than 100 million people per year, and they want to reach you as well. Go on YouTube and type in Prager University, or go to prageru.com for all of their latest content. That's Prager, the letter U.com. prageru.com.
A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. There are people in this nation that would have you give up your rights, that would have you turn in your guns. We have these people who are in office. We have these people who are marching in our streets, that are walking out of their schools. People who think that your right is not important. On the Wise Conservative Show, we know that your rights matter, and we will tell you the truth about your liberties. We will tell you the truth about all the issues happening and the facts around all of these debates. For your daily dose of conservatism, for your daily dose of the facts and the truth. Tune into the Wise Conservative Show every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, only on Youth Revolt.
Hello and welcome to the final segment of episode 115 of the Wise Conservative Show. I'm your host, Connor Wise. And in case you needed it, we have further proof of Democrats hating America, hating our laws, and protecting our people. The ACLU is now filing a lawsuit claiming that ICE and federal agencies in general are setting traps in order to deport immigrants. Now, they're saying in a brief that was filed just on Monday that documents show U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, well, they're cooperating and coordinating with ICE to facilitate arrests when people visit their offices for marriage interviews. And they're claiming that this is a class action lawsuit on behalf of these immigrants who have been or fear being separated from their U.S. citizen spouses. So basically what they're saying is that they're trapping them, that this is entrapment. Well, first off, what happens here is when people go to the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services in order to get marriage interviews, what they're doing is they're going there to see whether it's a green card wedding or whether they actually know each other, actually want to get married to each other. Because all the time you have people in the U.S. marry these illegals so that they can get their citizenship, and then 2-3 years down the road they divorce, they go their separate ways, they never even hear from each other again. And so what happens is USCIS, the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, they work with ICE and with immigration and all of these people so that they can weed out the people that are just there for the green card weddings. They weed out the people who are just trying to use the system. And this has been happening for generations. This has been happening ever since the invention of all of this system. And this coordination has been happening as long as ICE has existed, and it's had no problem until now. This entire thing was practiced under Barack Obama. It was practiced under George W. Bush. This system was practiced since the beginning of ICE. And liberals never had a problem with it until now. This is the same issue like we saw with the separation of these illegal immigrants, with the families being separated. This was a practice that was signed into law by Bill Clinton in this case. Well, in this current case, from the ACLU suing this, having this class action lawsuit, this has been going on for multiple presidencies, but they don't have a problem until now, just because it's Donald Trump. It's the same age-old problem where their hypocrisy shows through very easily, because they don't try to stop this when it's their own president. They don't try to stop this when Trump isn't in office, because they don't care at that point. They don't care. It's not another reason to try to get Donald Trump out of office. The left, and of course we all know the ACLU is very leftist, the left has done everything they can to try to make it seem like President Trump is a fascist Nazi. They try and make it seem like he's entrapping these poor immigrants, as they say, even though a lot of them are criminals. They like to make it seem like he's putting children in cages to torture them, when it's a practice that doesn't involve torture and that has been going on since the 90s. They try and make Donald Trump look like this fascist, like this Nazi, when we all know that he's not. He's nowhere close to a fascist. He's nowhere close to a Nazi. And as we talked about in the last segment, the closest thing to Nazis and fascists in our nation is Antifa. Yet the liberals, and I guarantee even ACLU, supports Antifa. So the left continues to pander to these extremists in our nation, and it just shows their true colors. And we've talked about this all episode long, and it's become very apparent in recent times. The left hates America and our practices. They try and stop our own president. They would rather watch our country burn than support a presidency that's Donald Trump. They would rather watch our country fail on the global stage, on the local stage, rather than support anything that Donald Trump supports. See, they would rather go against U.S. citizens than back down from supporting these illegal immigrants. They would rather support criminals over citizens. And that's why you have everyday Americans leaving the Democratic Party. We have everyday Americans, these Democrats that have voted Democrat for multiple elections, for decades, for generations, leaving the Democratic Party because they know that the Democratic Party has become too extreme and it's not representing America anymore. The walkaway campaign is real. It's very real. And we see people leaving the Democratic Party every day because they know and they've seen in past recent years that the left doesn't love America, that the left doesn't want to help America, that they don't want us to be great. From the second they started attacking Donald Trump, we saw their true colors. We saw their hatred for this nation. We saw their hatred for our freedoms, for our liberties, for our Constitution. We saw their hatred for our free market policies and for everyday Americans rising up into prosperity through our systems. Ever since Donald Trump announced his candidacy, these true colors have really shown. And they continue to shine through every single day. There's more crazy things that are going to be said by Maxine Waters. There's more crazy things that are going to be said by Nancy Pelosi, because that's what they truly believe. For years, Democrats have been pandering to the more moderate side of America, trying to get votes. But they're not pandering anymore. They're showing their true colors. They're going extreme, further and further left. They think that socialism is the answer to all of Americans' problems. They think that socialism and communism is a good system. They look at Soviet Russia and they think that that's more equal than what we have now. They look at Venezuela, at Greece, and they think that that form of socialism will bring Americans out of poorness. They look at the people who have succeeded in our nation, at what they call the 1%. And they have hatred because they've succeeded in life. For some reason, they get hatred towards those that have used capitalism and succeeded, that have turned a small company into millions of dollars worth of company, that have turned their small business into a livelihood for so many people. They look at that and they're angered. Democrats are showing their true colors nowadays. They're showing their hatred for capitalism, their hatred for the free market. They're showing their hatred for America in general. Democrats are not hiding anymore and they're not pandering anymore. They're just going farther and farther left, no matter the outcome and no matter the consequences for our nation. All right, that's all for today's episode of The Wise Conservative Show. I'd like to thank you all for tuning in. I've been your host, Connor Wise. You can find The Wise Conservative Show on Spreaker.com, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and a whole bunch of more places. If you'd like to keep listening to this show, go ahead and like us on Facebook. I'd like to thank you all for tuning in once again, and as always, God bless.